Hi guys, how are you doing? Alright, so in this video we're looking at solving quadratic equation, and we are particularly looking at solving quadratic equations by factorization. So let's do an overview and see what's up. What is a quadratic equation? So a quadratic equation is an equation of the form ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. What makes it quadratic? The fact that it has a x squared term. And what makes it an equation? The fact that it is equal to something, in this case 0. So a, b, and c are real numbers, meaning if you should be given a quadratic equation, you're not going to see ax squared, you're going to see 5x squared plus 3x minus 2. So actual numbers, right? And if you get an equation that is not in the form, then you should rearrange the equation to be in the form. For example, if you're given 3x squared minus 2x equal negative 15, you would want to write this in the form. And you want what? The form, in the form, the general or standard form, you have all the terms on the left hand side equaling 0. So in this case, we have negative 15 on the right hand side, so we need to transpose it to the left hand side. And of course, when you're transposing, remember that when you move something from one side of the equal sign to the other side of the equal sign, you do the opposite. So negative 15 when transposed would become positive 15. So the equation would then be rewritten as 3x squared minus 2x plus 15 equals 0, because nothing is left over there after moving the 15, right? If it was plus 15, when we move it, it will become negative 15. Alright, so let us move on. Alright, so there are different ways to solve quadratic equations. We can solve by factorization, which will be the focus of this video. We can solve by completing the square, which we will not be doing right now. And we can solve using a formula or graphically. Alright, so once you know how to factorize, then solving the equations will be easy. Consider two numbers being multiplied together. If the result is 0, it would mean that at least one of the numbers is 0, right? Why? Because any number multiplied by 0 is 0, correct? So I can say then 3 multiplied by 0 is 0, 5 multiplied by 0 is 0. So it is safe to say then, if we have xy, which means x multiplied by y equals 0, that means that either x is 0 or y is 0. One of them must be 0, right? If the result is going to be 0. Solving quadratic equations is just a few more steps more than factorizing quadratic expressions. Alright, so we're going to be looking at a few examples. Solve the following equations by factorization, and we have x squared plus 7x plus 6. So let us write. And of course, the zeros were left off. The first equation is x squared plus 7x equals 0. That's an equation. See that we're solving by factorization. We need to find a, or identify a, b, and c. So a is the coefficient, 1 is the coefficient of x squared, 7 is the coefficient of b of x, and 6 is our constant. The next thing that we need to do is calculate AC. So 6 times 1 is 6. Then we need to find two numbers. When we multiply them, we get 6, and when we add them, we get the middle term, or the middle coefficient, which is 7 in this case. So I write down the possible factors of 6. So 6 times 1 will give us 6, and 2 multiplied by 3 will give us 6. 2 multiplied, we can't use 2 and 3 because 2 multiplied by 3 gives us 6, but 2 plus 3 will not give us 7. So that is out. However, 6 times 1 gives us 6, and 6 plus 1 will give us the middle factor, which is 7. So that is our 2 factors. So we write back the first term, then we replace the middle term with the two factors. So that's 1x plus 6 equals 0. Factorize by grouping. Common factor x squared divided by x, 6x divided by x, that's 6. No visible common factor means the common factor is 1, because 1 is a factor of every number, everything. So then we're going to have x plus 6 and x plus 1. And of course, that factorization could have been done shorter. Once the coefficient of x squared is 1 and you find the two factors is what form the answer. Notice our two factors are 6 and 1, and in the bracket we have x plus 6 and x plus 1. So once you are factorizing a quadratic expression where the coefficient of x squared is 1, the shorter way could have been done. Alright, so remember in the first part of the video that we said that if we're multiplying two numbers together and the result is 0, that means at least one of the numbers is 0. So we use that principle now because we have, this is a factor, and x plus 6 multiplied by x plus 1 equals 0. That means at least one of them is 0, but we don't know which one. So what we do, we equate each bracket to 0. So we're going to have x plus 6 equals 0 or x plus 1 equal 0. And then we solve the equation. We're trying to make x the subject of the equation, so that means we need to transpose whatever is there. In this case, first case, we need to transpose this 6 right there. Get x alone on the left hand side. So we're going to end up with x equal 0 minus 6, which is negative 6. Remember, once you move something from one side of the equal sign to the other side, you do the opposite operation. So over here we have x plus 1. When you move that 1, you will end up with x equal negative 1. So our answers would be x equal negative 6 and x equal negative 1. And you're supposed to get two values for x because of the x squared term. So this 2 here tells us that there are two values of x.